A cold winter evening in downtown Chicago, and most people rushed past without a second glance. But what happened next on that frozen sidewalk would restore your faith in humanity forever. This is the true story of how one homeless boy became a hero when everyone else turned away. His name was Danny, just 14 years old, living on the streets for almost 2 years after his family fell apart. He had nothing but the torn jacket on his back and a backpack filled with a few belongings. Every day was a fight for survival, searching for food, finding warm places to sleep, and avoiding trouble. But Danny had something special inside him that most people had forgotten. He had a heart that still believed in kindness, even when the world had been cruel to him. On this particular evening, Danny was sitting near a bus stop, hoping someone might spare some change for dinner. The wind was biting cold, and his fingers were numb. That's when he noticed a girl in a wheelchair waiting alone at the corner. Her name was Emma, and she was 16 years old. Emma had been born with a condition that made it difficult for her to walk, so she used a wheelchair to get around. She was waiting for her mom to pick her up after her therapy session, but her phone had died, and she couldn't call for help. Everything seemed normal until a group of teenagers walked by. They were laughing loudly, pushing each other, acting tough. When they saw Emma sitting there alone, something ugly came out of them. One of them pointed at her and started making cruel jokes. Another one mocked the way she sat in her wheelchair. They circled around her, laughing and throwing insults like stones. Emma's face turned red with embarrassment and fear. She tried to ignore them, looking down at her lap, but they wouldn't stop. They got louder, meaner, crueler. One of them even kicked the wheel of her chair, making her jolt forward. Tears started rolling down Emma's cheeks. She felt helpless, trapped, humiliated. And the worst part, adults were walking by. People saw what was happening, but everyone kept walking. Everyone looked away. No one wanted to get involved. No one wanted trouble. Emma felt completely alone in a crowd of people. She closed her eyes and wished someone, anyone, would help her. That's when Danny stood up. He saw everything. His heart was pounding, but he couldn't just sit there and watch. He was smaller than those bullies. He was weaker. He had no phone to call for help, no adults to back him up, but he had courage. Danny walked straight toward the group and stood between them and Emma. The bullies stopped laughing and looked at him like he was crazy. One of them sneered and said, "What are you gonna do, homeless kid? Get lost before we mess you up too." Danny's voice was shaking, but he spoke clearly. He said, "Leave her alone. She didn't do anything to you. Why are you being so mean?" The biggest one stepped closer, trying to intimidate him. He said, "This is none of your business. Go back to your cardboard box." But Danny didn't move. He looked the bully straight in the eyes and said, "Hurting someone weaker than you doesn't make you strong. It makes you a coward." The words hit hard. The bully's face turned red with anger. For a moment, it looked like things were about to get violent. The tension was unbearable. But then something unexpected happened. An older man who had been watching from across the street started walking over. Then a woman with her grocery bags stopped. Then another person. People started gathering around. And suddenly the bullies realized they weren't anonymous anymore. They were being watched. They were being judged. One by one, they backed away, muttering insults under their breath, trying to act like they didn't care. But they left. They walked away. And Emma was safe. Danny knelt down beside Emma's wheelchair and gently asked, "Are you okay?" Emma was still crying, but she nodded. She whispered, "Thank you. Thank you so much. You're the only one who helped me." Danny smiled, a tired but genuine smile, and said, "You don't have to thank me. That's just what people should do." Emma wiped her tears and looked at this boy who had nothing, who society had forgotten, but who had more courage and kindness than anyone else that day. She asked him, "What's your name?" He said, "Danny." She said, "I'm Emma. I won't forget what you did today." Just then, Emma's mom arrived, panicked and worried because Emma's phone was off. When she saw her daughter crying and Danny standing there, she quickly understood something had happened. Emma explained everything, how the bullies attacked her, how everyone walked away, and how Danny, a homeless boy, was the only one brave enough to stand up for her. Emma's mom was overwhelmed with emotion. She looked at Danny with tears in her eyes and said, "You saved my daughter. How can I ever thank you?" Danny just shrugged and said, "I'm just glad she's safe." But Emma's mom wasn't going to let it end there. And right here, I want to pause for just a moment because this story, this moment of pure human kindness, is exactly why Humanity Tales Studio exists. We share real stories that remind us what truly matters in this world. Stories that inspire us to be better, to help others, to never walk away when someone needs us. If this story is touching your heart, if Danny's courage is moving you, please hit that like button right now and subscribe to Humanity Tales Studio. Share this video with your friends and family because these are the stories that can change lives. Now, let's get back to what happened next, because this story isn't over yet. Emma's mom insisted on buying Danny dinner that night. They went to a small diner, and for the first time in weeks, Danny had a hot meal. As they sat together, Emma's mom learned about Danny's story, how he ended up on the streets, how he struggled every day, but how he never lost his kindness. She was deeply moved. Over the next few days, Emma and her mom couldn't stop thinking about Danny. They talked to their family, their friends, and their church community. They started a fundraiser to help Danny get off the streets. People from all over the city heard about what Danny had done, how a homeless boy with nothing had stood up against bullies when no one else would. The story spread on social media. Local news stations picked it up. Donations started pouring in. Within 2 weeks, they had raised enough money to get Danny into a safe shelter program, provide him with clothes, school supplies, and counseling support. A local family even offered to foster him, giving him a real home for the first time in years. But the most beautiful part wasn't just about the money or the home. It was about what Danny taught everyone who heard his story. Danny showed us that heroism isn't about being the strongest or the richest or the most powerful. It's about having the courage to do what's right, even when you're scared, even when you have nothing, even when no one else will. He reminded us that our circumstances don't define our character. You can have everything and be cruel, or you can have nothing and be kind. Emma and Danny became lifelong friends. She visited him regularly, and they supported each other through their challenges. Emma continued her therapy and grew stronger every day, inspired by Danny's courage. Danny went back to school, started catching up on his education, and discovered a passion for helping other kids who were going through tough times. He volunteered at shelters, talked to young people about kindness and standing up against bullying, and became a voice for those who felt invisible. The bullies who attacked Emma, they never apologized directly, but the incident changed something in their community. Schools started having serious conversations about bullying, about disabilities, about homelessness, and about the importance of stepping up when someone needs help. Parents talked to their children about empathy and courage, and slowly, things began to change. Today, Danny is 17 years old. He's living with his foster family, doing well in school, and planning to study social work in college. He wants to dedicate his life to helping vulnerable people, especially homeless youth and people with disabilities. Emma is thriving too. She advocates for disability rights, speaks at schools about her experience, and works to create a more inclusive world. Together, they started a program called Stand Up, Speak Out, which trains young people to intervene safely when they see bullying or injustice. And it all started because one boy, who had every reason to look away, who had every excuse to say, "It's not my problem," chose kindness instead. Danny could have walked past Emma just like everyone else did. He could have thought, "I have my own problems. I can't help anyone else." But he didn't. He chose to be brave. He chose to be kind. And that choice changed everything. So here's the lesson that Danny's story teaches us. Kindness doesn't cost anything, but it's worth everything. You don't need money, power, or status to make a difference in someone's life. You just need a willing heart and the courage to act. Every single day, we pass by opportunities to help others. We see people struggling, being hurt, being left out, and we have a choice. We can walk away like those adults at the bus stop, or we can be like Danny and stand up. The world needs more people like Danny. It needs more people who choose kindness over comfort, courage over convenience, and compassion over cruelty. If this story moved you, if Danny's bravery inspired you, don't let this feeling fade away. Take it with you. The next time you see someone being bullied, speak up. The next time you see someone struggling, offer help. The next time you have a choice between kindness and indifference, choose kindness. And please, share this story from Humanity Tales Studio with everyone you know, because these are the stories that remind us of the good in humanity. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and join our community of people who believe in making the world better, one act of kindness at a time. Danny didn't have much, but he gave everything that mattered. And that's what makes him a true hero. Remember, you don't need to be perfect to make a difference. You just need to care. Thank you for watching, and never forget that kindness always wins.